This video is going to help discuss the 6 rules of the Rescorla Wagner model. Once again, what the Rescorla Wagner model is that it is a mathematical model to predict classical conditioning trials. We'll either have an excitatory outcome, inhibitory outcome, or no conditioning will take place at all. To go over this, the 6 rules here, I'd like to use the classical conditioning example of getting a shot and then being scared of the person in scrubs. So imagine that you go to the doctor, you get your shot, child, let's say, gets a shot. They respond, unconditionally respond, fear of the shot, because of getting the shot. The conditioned stimulus is person in scrubs. That person in scrubs was paired with the delivery of getting a shot. And so all we have to do now is present the person in scrubs, the conditioned stimulus, and the child will respond with fear of person in scrubs, which is, of course, the conditioned response. So rule number 1, if the strength of the actual US is greater than the strength of what the subject was expecting, the result will be excitatory conditioning. So let's say the child has never had a shot before. He goes to the doctor and he gets his shot. And it hurts way worse than what he was expecting to have happen. So therefore, we have a true good outcome, which is excitatory conditioning. So we would, from this example, expect to have conditioning take place, a very strong pairing of the shot and the conditioned stimulus, which in turn caused excitatory conditioning to happen, i.e. the child being scared of the person in scrubs. Rule number 2, if the strength of the actual US is less than the strength of the subject's expectation, the result will be inhibitory conditioning. So the child goes to get the shot, and what happens when he gets the shot, the getting of the shot was actually what happened, and what he experienced was less than what he was expecting to have happen. So inhibitory conditioning occurs. So there's actually probably a weakening of the connection between the getting the actual shot and the person in scrubs. Okay, so the third rule, if the strength of the actual US is equal to the strength of the subject's expectation, there will be no conditioning. So let's say the child is told, you're going to get a shot and it's going to hurt. And the child, when he gets the shot, it hurts exactly like what he was expecting to have happen and to feel. So therefore, no conditioning took place at all. Rule number 4. The larger the discrepancy between the strength of the expectation and the strength of the unconditioned stimulus, the greater the conditioning. So the example I gave for rule number 1 was a really good example of there being a very large discrepancy between what the child was expecting and then, of course, the actual US. So the kid's mom says, you're going to go and get a shot. The kid gets the shot. She says it's going to hurt. He's expecting it to hurt. But this happens to be one of those shots that you get it and it has to go in slow, and the medicine you can just actually feel coming into your skin and it burns, and it's just very, very, very painful. So the kid knew it was going to hurt, but he had no idea it was going to hurt that bad. So there was a big discrepancy between what the kid was expecting to have happen and the actual strength of the US. So the final outcome is greater conditioning. Very, very strong excitatory conditioning outcome here. Rule number 4. The more noticeable CSs will condition faster than less noticeable CSs. So a noticeable CS in this example would be, let's say our nurse who delivered the shot, the person in scrubs, wore just a very, very bright, hot pink pair of scrubs. That is very noticeable. Everybody in the office wears those, just regular blue scrubs, and this nurse happens to be wearing the very bright, hot pink scrubs. Very noticeable. So conditioning will take place faster with the more noticeable CS opposed to a less noticeable CS. The final rule, if 2 or more CSs are presented together, So 2 CSs in this example could be a person in scrubs and let's say a bell that goes off. What the subject expects, the subject's expectation, will be equal to the total strength. So they'll be equal to the total strength of the bell that goes off and the nurse in scrubs. Rule number 6 seems a little difficult to understand for some people, and I want to encourage you to turn in your textbooks to page 80 and 81 and read the examples that are used for over-expectation and overshadowing for these final rules here, and that should help pairing lights and tones together as 2 different CSs, and when one of the CSs is taken away, were they expecting to have both, and so on. So take a few minutes to read those examples, and I think that will definitely help with rule number 6.